It's cold in here. Alright, I'm sitting at the gym. First off, let's just get this straight. Exercise profiteth little. A lot of people become so focused on their body and this kind of stuff, they're missing the fact that it's in the Holy Spirit. It's not in, you having muscles, alright? None of that. It's not in you losing weight, none of that. So, I will admit this though. Sometimes working out can clear your mind and you can connect with God a little bit more. But I'm bringing this up because I'm thinking about, what did the Israelites used to do for exercise? And I believe, these people, they didn't have cars. Most of them didn't have any kind of horses to ride on. So they were walking everywhere. And then they would also go on pilgrimages. And that's a thing, too, because, you're going to get a little bit of exercise in. And then they'd be working with the animals, on the farm and that. So there was some exercise that was happening. Now we just go to the gym, right? And we lift some weights and we're like in the gym and we're grunting. I'm sitting here like, why do you have to do things so strenuous where you start to grunt? Like, I can understand. I used to work for VHO, which they distribute, meal packages and that kind of thing. And you would literally have to put these meal packages on these pallets for like 6 hours straight. It was crazy. I almost died the last time I worked it. They actually removed me because I took a break. So that was one in Austin. They had changed management or whatever, and so they weren't as cool as the prior managers. But yeah. So I mean, after 6 hours, you might be grunting, but you in the gym with your 50-pound weights grunting, like, come on, bro, it's not that serious. But they think it is because the world has told people this is what we need. You just need to work out more. You just need to have more clothing. You need to get a better job. You need to make more money. You need to buy the new Louis Vuitton bag. All these kinds of things that don't actually matter. And so there was a girl on Instagram, and she was taping her walk from, I don't know, wherever she was coming from to her hotel. Now the thing is, I done been to 18 countries, and so you always have this walk of, you're seeing trash on the ground, poor people, shops that look dilapidated. My friend used to say that to me. It's not a good scene. And then when you get to the hotel, it's like the hotel is beautiful and pristine, and you're living in paradise, alright? And so you can complain about the walk to the hotel, which often I do, because I'm like, I don't understand how, you're getting this money from these travelers and these tourists, and yet your streets still look like this. Well, the government don't do anything about it. They just pocket the money or whatever the deal is. And so, yeah, you got some terrible looking stuff, but you have some really nice looking stuff as well. But, here's my thing. You don't actually have to go to those countries. You can stay in America, you can stay in Britain, whatever. I don't know why you're choosing to go all the way overseas when you literally can just go to Italy or something. So the lady responds, and she's like, well, would you rather us line the pockets of millionaires? I don't care, and I'm going to tell you why. Because your system, your monetary system, alright, your capitalistic system has destroyed these other nations. Your colonization, alright, And now they have to figure out what they're going to do. Are they going to continue to go down the same path that you do as, capitalism? Or are they going to go back to the old way? Well, they're kind of stuck in between, right? And so you have very rich people in these countries that own hotels and some people that own hostels and that kind of thing. And then you have the rest of the people that are completely impoverished. And so, whose pockets are you lining still when you go to these countries? All right, because you're not staying with a family in a tin hut that's using fire for light and has no running water, like in Nairobi. I think it's called the Kibera district. I walked through it one time, and people, so kind, so kind, so kind. Much better than the people that have made it in Nairobi. And so, no, you're not really helping. You didn't help when you brought the system about in the first place. So, what's going to be better for these folks? I think going back to the old way of life where, they didn't have to worry about all the money and they could just pick fruits off the trees and they had goats and chickens in the backyard and, because it also puts in the mind of people that they're like greater or better if they have a lifestyle that's like the Western lifestyle. And it reminds me of when I stayed at this hostel in Dar es Salaam, and they have this saying called maidism, where you feel like, oh, I've made it, I don't have to work any harder. Now, they had a pool in their backyard. It's always nice to have a pool at your hostel. That pool is so dirty. I'm like, when did you stop working? If you're going to live this life, you got to make sure that your standards are to the Western standards as well. Because, yes, while we're paying $12, $13 a night, you still got like 30 people in the hostel. And, that comes out to what's 30 times 13, like 300 something dollars a night for 7 days out of the week. So you're making 2,100 a week, 8,000 plus a month. You don't even get that much in the U.S. All right. So, and the U.S. dollar is stronger. So you should be making sure that your pool is clean. So this is the upkeep that Westerners have to do. Not to mention, constantly destroying the lives of other people to have ice cream on a Sunday. So, I think that I think what people need to understand is that we don't really need them in their system, right? France still has 14 countries under lock in Africa. Burkina Faso, they say you need they took their foot and they said, get on up out of here. And France wasn't very happy with that, which, why would you be happy with that when you're losing your resources? But yeah, it kind of shows that you don't really need them, that they depend on you for whatever it is that they want. Okay? They depend on you for the gold that they're stealing from you, for the cobalt that they're stealing from you, the labor. And let me remind you, these people are only marrying y'all because they want a part of your land and your resources. They don't actually love y'all. I saw that very clearly when I was in Uganda. Some old dude with some young Ugandan woman. Alright, they want your land. That's it. So, and many of them, they're probably going to get it because when you're stuck in such a place of poverty like that, you're going to take the next best thing, but you're not thinking about it, for the long run. You're just thinking about the immediate gratification of it, and these folks are just so manipulative that they're able to get in your head in the first place. So it works every single time for most folks. And yeah, but I want to make that clear. We don't actually need you. We need God. That's what we need. We need God. That's it. Food, water, shelter. Those are all things that God can provide. I don't need a Mercedes or a Louis Vuitton bag or dinner. I don't need none of that. All right. And I think that's what a lot of people need to come to the conclusion of, especially, us ninjas. And as soon as you come to the conclusion of that, you will stop depending on folks, all right, who are trying to proclaim that they're higher than you and that you need them and this kind of stuff. No, they need you to continue in their comforts, all right? Just like one of them said the other day, because I told him I was like, colonization, and he was like, well, there's nothing wrong with trying to find comfort. I'm like, you killed people for your comfort? He's like, I don't see the big deal. I'm like, those people have souls? How do you know they have souls? Prove they have souls. So these are the type of people that you're dealing with. Their conscience is not there. So why do you keep trying to appeal to them? I don't know.